Beginning our Daf Mesech Kesuvos Daf Samach Gimel, we begin on the bottom of Samach Beis Mabeis. 4 lines up at the bottom of the Yabba, we continue with the famous story with Rabbi Kiva about getting married and going to learn and coming back with students, which relates to the theme of the previous Daf we were discussing regarding the halacha of the Mishnah. How long could yeshiva students, the young life, go away without permission to go learn? That's what we said, because it came up regarding the discussion of Oina, where the husband has obligations to have intimacy with his wife, spending time with her, and Pesach explained that Kiva was able to go away for long periods of time because the wife wanted it, but that's why Gemara continues with that story. Some things discussed in today's daf are halachas regarding hameredes al bala. If a woman rebels against her husband, not fulfilling her marital obligations, and machlekes regarding actually what that halacha is, and regarding the knas, which compels her to stop. Does this also include meaning because we penalize, we keep on penalizing, you're not going to keep on doing a penal system. Question is, to what extent do we penalize her? Does it also include the assets that she inherited from her father? The machlekes regarding hamered is the malacha, regarding if it's considered that she's rebelling from the work or she's refusing to have intimacy. Machlekes regarding amr moiselai. If, let's say, she doesn't say, I want to be part of the marriage, she says, I don't even like him, what the halacha is going to be, how we continue or end that relationship. So we begin on Daf Samach Beis Mabeis. 4 lines up at the bottom of the Yomim, where the Gemara just finishes off all the way up until the Mishnah, stories relating to the theme of the previous Daf regarding husbands who went away for a long period of time to go learn in yeshiva. So Rabbi Kiva, he was the shepherd of what he was called Ben Kalba Savua. Now the reason why he had such a name, because he was one of the wealthy people of Yerushalayim. Whoever came into his house hungry like a dog would go out satisfied. So Kalba Savua, Kalba is a Kaleb, Savua would go out satisfied. Now Chaziti Barati, so he was a shepherd. His daughter saw Rabbi Kiva that he was discreet and he was refined. Now Tais actually says, how can you say this? There's a Gemara Chacham that Memtes that says, Rabbi Kiva says, when I was on Ma'oretz, I used to say, who's going to give me Talmud Chacham? I'm going to bite him like a donkey. Sounds like he wasn't a refined person. So Taisus, you could say, is that there wasn't because he only hated Talmidei Chacham because he thought that they were arrogant, Ubed Amaratzim, because of their Torah. And Talmidei Chacham hated the Amaratzim, and also because they didn't let them touch them. As the Gemara says, Chagigi Daf Yudches, the big Di Amaretz is a medris, is considered Tumah for Perushin. But he was a Shomer Mitzvahs, says Rabbeinu Tam. Kiva was not a bad person, wasn't a coarse person, he was very refined. To the contrary, he was very sensitive. And he saw Talmidei Chachamim arrogant, he looked like they were arrogant over the Amaratzim, and that's why, but he was really very refined and very discreet, very modest. So Amalei, so the daughter of Kalba Savua said to Rabbi Kiva, we get engaged. Azaz the Beidaf, are you going to go learn the yeshiva? Amalei says yes, and so they got engaged discreetly. And she sent him off to go learn in yeshiva. Shama, who our father heard that she got engaged to a shepherd, so after we basically kicked her out of the house, he said, I'm taking a vow, you are forbidden to have any benefit from my estate. So Azal Yosef, today's Shnin Bebeida. So he went and he learned 12 years in yeshiva. Also, when he came back, today Alpha Tamid, they brought back with him 12,000 students. Shamayla Husaba, so he heard there was an elderly man, the Kamallah, that told his wife, Ad Kama as a Ketinta top of Samakimah Ralph, Komedabris, how long are you going to conduct yourself? Almanas Chaim, you're a living widow. What is the sacrifice that you're doing without your husband here? So Amrullah, she said to him, if you listen to me, Yosef today Shnei Achrini, he would sit another 12 years in yeshiva. Oh, Omar, so Kiva overheard that conversation, said, I'm doing this with permission now. Now, you understand the context of this story because it relates to the previous daf, which we said that the Yotzim Shaloi B'Rishus. We said that was the whole halachic discussion we were having. How long can they go without permission? With permission. Said, I'm doing it with permission. I'm going to go back and learn yeshiva another 12 years. So the famous idea that 12 plus 12 is not 24. He didn't come in and say hi and say didn't come in and say hi and have a cup of coffee and go back. No, because he wanted to have a chaticha, an entirety of 24 years without any hefsek. Also, when he came back, they brought with him 24,000 students for the amount of years that he was away. Shaman the Besu, so his wife heard. I was kanaf kalapi, she was going out to greet him. Amrullah shevavavta, so her neighbor said to her, It's coming 24,000 students. A Rebbe with the 24,000 Chassidim. So Shalim ani lavish v'chasoi. Say, put on something nice, borrow something from someone that you can get dressed and greet the big tzaddik. So Amalahu, she said to them, according to Pasuk and Mishlei, Yudeya tzaddik nefesh behemtoi. The tzaddik, the righteous one, knows the soul of his animal. Means to say, he knows who I am, and I don't have to come all dressed like that. Kimat like Abe, when she came to him, Naflo ala pa, she fell on her face. She was kissing his feet. So the Gabuim, the attendants were pushing away this woman, get her out. The Rebbe. Amalahu, he said to them, Shavkua, leave her alone. The famous immortal words, Rabbi Kiva said, Shali, the Torah that I learned, V'shalachem, and that you learned, Shalohu, it's all through her. Leave her alone. This is all in her schus, that what she did. So Shamavua, her father heard the Asa Gabarabba Lamasa, that a big tzaddik, a big Talmid Chacham came to town. Ame said, I feel so bad. It's been already 24 years that my daughter has been forbidden to have any pleasure for me. Ezel Gabar, when they go to him, maybe he's going to nullify the vow. I'll find some way out to get my daughter back to feed her. She's been without food and who knows how long. So Asa Gabar, he came to Rabbi Kiva. Rabbi Kiva said to him, when you took a vow prohibiting your daughter, she got engaged to a shepherd, did you do it with the intention of that if he would be a Talmid Chacham? Which Taisa says, very interesting, he says, what's Rabbi Kiva doing? You cannot open up to have undoing a neder with noilim, something that's going to eventually happen. As the Gemara says in the Dharma of Samad Dalman Aleph. If someone takes a neder and that person comes a safe and he didn't know that was going to happen, that's not a Pesach. It's something that has to be that when you took it, the circumstance will like that. And there's a very famous Taisvus that, so what's Rabbi Kiva undoing it by saying, because Rabbi Kiva was Amoritz then. So what's he saying? Had you taken the vow, that would be a heter? But this is something that developed later on. It says Taisus, here it's not considered noilid. Even shahalach lebeirav, since he was going to yeshiva, the norm is when you're going to learn, nasa adam gadol. Everyone quotes this Taisus, you become an adam gadol. That's not considered noilid. That's become something that is right then. You're going to learn, you're going to be successful. That's one approach. Another approach says that since he was suspending his neder on something that he explicitly said was that because he's Amaretz, in other words, you can assume that that's not considered noilid because he was saying that was why he was taking the vow. It was for that purposes that he did it. So had you known then, would you have taken the vow? Amalei says, no, if the guy would have known one chapter of Mishnah, one halacha, I would never have taken the vow. Just she married a Garaba Amaretz, and therefore I said, I'm forbidding you from having benefit myself. So Malay said to him, Anahu, I am him. The great Rabbi Kiva is the big Talmid Chacham that was giving shiur and this and that, and he came to town. He said, I am that husband. He fell on his face, and the Shaki al-Kari, and he kissed him on the feet. V'yavli Pagman, he gave away half his money, this Ben Kalba Sabua, to Rabbi Kiva. Now, Barati Rabbi Kiva, the daughter of Rabbi Kiva, Abdullah ben Azai Hachi. The daughter of Rabbi Kiva did the same thing to her husband, Ben Azai, which Taisus wonders, because the famous Machlekes in Saita, did Ben Azai not get married, or did he get married and then they got divorced? So according to that interpretation, you have to say that they didn't get married, they got engaged, and she sent him off also. Behind them, this is what people say, the chila, basa the chila azah, the ewe, meaning the female sheep, goes after the female sheep, meaning the ima kach the brata, where the mama hat getan, the tachta eich getan, the way the mother does, the mother would send her husband away for 24 years to go learn Torah, and her daughter did the same thing with Ben Azai. Also, you go and learn yeshiva, and I'll run the house. Another story the Gemara brings Rabbi Yisib B'rei Rava, Shadrei Avui Lebeirav L'Kamed Rabbi Yisib. So his father sent him to go learn yeshiva in front of Rabbi Yisib. Possibly Shishni, they set for him 6 years that he's going to learn after he gets married. Give him the Zexio Kest. Now, Kabbat Lashni, when it was 3 years that he was away in yeshiva learning, Mata Mali Yom Kippur, it reached Arab Yom Kippur. Somebody says, basically, let me go see. It's been 3 years since I've been home. Let me see how my family's doing. Shama Avui, his father heard he was supposed to learn yeshiva for 6 years. He was getting koil checks 6 years. So his father heard that he's coming home. So Shakal Mana, he took a weapon as if he's coming to fight him, and he came to greet his son. Amalei said to him, you remembered your Zaina? Like as if you needed your harlot over here, what are you doing coming back to your wife? This is supposed to be 6 years, supposed to learn uninterrupted. You're coming back 3 years early? Those that say, Amalei said to him, Yunoscha in this karta. You remembered your dove, like your precious wife? So the Gemara tells Itrid. They got perturbed, they got distracted with this agreement they were having. And loymar ifsik, neither one of them ate on Erev Yom Kippur, what we call the Suda Hamafsekes, which you stop the eating before Tainus. I mean, the last meal of Erev Tisha B'Av and the Yom Kippur is called the Suda Hamafsekes, which you stop the eating. As the Gemara brings the Tainus of Lamanal, they got so caught up in their disagreement about if he should come say hi to his wife or not, where the father was so upset, he took out his weapon saying, what are you doing? This is Torah. You have 6 years of supposed to learn Torah uninterrupted. When are you coming home after 3 years on Erev Kippurim to greet your family? And that concludes this discussion, again, which we see the Mesiras Nefesh, they had to go away and learn Torah. That, as Tosfos said, not only was it Bershus, but the wives married them with that intention to say, I want you to go learn Torah, and this was what all they wanted from their husbands. Now, if you look at halacha, the next Mishnah, continuing the theme of the previous Mishnah is regarding the halacha obligation that a husband and the wife have to each other, and what happens if they don't do it. So we had a word that was hamudr hana, that if they take a vow prohibiting hana, now it's hamaydedis al bala. If a woman rebels on her husband, which you must explain, what is she rebelling about? What is she not fulfilling as her wife obligations? So the halacha is like this: so there's a ksuba, which a woman gets when when the marriage is over. So let's say she's going to get $200. We continue to diminish from her ksuba shiva dinar b'Shabbos. Every single week we diminish 7 dinar. Which interesting place to bring from the Yerushalmi. Now why 7 dinar? Because there's 7 malachas she'isha is labala, as we said in the Mishnah Daf Nun Tesma Beis. So for every one of those activities that she's not doing, she's not cooking, she's not baking, she's not doing lunch, she's not doing all these different things, we take away 1 dinner. And regarding the next halacha, that when the husband rebels against the wife, that we add on 3 dinar, is because that's his 3 obligations of sheir, ksusim, and nasa. Which place it says argument is not holding this, but that's what the Yerushalmi explains what it correlates to. So the Tanakh holds we diminish the ksuba 7 dinar a week. He says shiva tar pa'ikim. We diminish 7 tar pa'ikim, which Shemot can explain this opinion. Now, now, up until how much, or till what point do we keep on taking away, detracting from our bank account? So the Tanakh says, Ad keneged ksubasa, meaning up until the amount of the ksuba that she has. After the ksuba has already been depleted in the calculations, that's it. You give her the get, she leaves without a ksuba, but you don't wait and delay to take away even from her assets that she has from her father and to cause a loss for that. That you don't take away. Once the ksuba is done, that's it, she's divorced. He says, no, you continue to diminish from the amount that she gets. That even if she'll get an inheritance from somewhere else, Goyim and the husband could collect from that. So you actually not only detract, you actually continue to create a deficit that she's going to owe him every week that she's rebelling, not doing for her wife obligations. And says the Mishnah, simply goes the other way too. If the husband rebels against his wife, so we add on to the ksuba 3 dinar a week, which we must explain. Wait a second, why is this? Seems to be gendered this inequality that for her we take away 7 dinar a week when she's married at this. The husband, when he's married, we only add on 3 dinar a week. I'm going to explain what's the difference between him and her. He says, no, not shleisha dinar, again shleisha tar pe'ikin. So he always says it's tar poik instead of dinar. Now says the Gemara, midedis mimai. This that you're saying that she rebels, that we keep on diminishing 7 dinar a week. What is she rebelling from? So we have machlekes. Rabbi says mitash v'shabika. From marital intimacy, she's like, that's it. I don't want to be together with you. We could continue living our lives. We could have the kids over, everything, but no intimacy. He says malach. No, it's when she doesn't want to do her work. Which Shaisa discusses what work are we talking about. We're talking about just the basic work with wool. We're talking about all the activities that a wife has to do for her husband. Rabbi is amazed that she's not doing the malacha. Now the Gemara asks, wait a second. We learned in our Mishnah, what were the words? The Mishnah said, so there's moededes when she doesn't do it, and then there's moeded when he doesn't do it. So if you're saying according to one that says that moededes, she's rebelling, means she doesn't want to be intimate with him, that makes sense that he could be married the same way. He's like, that's it, we're not being together. But according to one that says it's from her work that she has to do for him, does he have to work for her? We never said that. She's got to cook, she's got to clean, and then say he's got to take out the garbage, and then say all the what's the malachas that he's not doing for her? So he went in, yes. But it's talking about where he says, Aini Zan, he says, I'm not going to feed her, the Aini Mefarnes, and I'm not going to provide for her. Now, there's a discussion exactly how to translate these words. Rashi says that's meaning her malacha that she does for him. If he's saying I'm not feeding her, well, that's being married because he owes it for the fact that she's giving her ma'aseh dime to him. She's working, she's cooking, she's doing everything. He owes her mezainis for that. If he's saying I'm not feeding her, that's being married on the malacha. But actually, Taisus makes from a very interesting point. Someone mentioned before. He's like, we got to go to work today. So actually, I said as we'll see in today's daf. Taisus says from Rabbi he wants to prove from these words, if he says the husband is avoided, that a person, if he doesn't have a job, the wife could tell him, I don't care what you do, go become a school teacher or do some other work because you got to provide for your wife. Because if not, what does it have to do with being married in malacha? He learns malacha differently. Taisus says Rashi learns the word malacha differently, that it's the malacha of the isha that he's being married on. But the way Rabbi learns it is his own malacha that he has to do. So you got to find the job. I don't care what it takes. Another Rabbi wants to bring that the husband has to find the job, whatever it takes, is from the ksuba. Vano eflach. The husband said, and I'm going to work, etc. So you see the husband, I don't care what. You go find yourself a job. Taisus says, no, that you also can reject that. Rabbi Tam says, eflach just means to work the ground. I'm going to plow, I'm going to weed, I'm going to do all the things, and I'll bring the food to my wife. But to hire himself out just to get any job, not necessarily zechayit. So that's a discussion how you translate that he's being married in the malacha. Is it from the wife's malacha, like Rashi says, or from his malacha? Now, but the Gemara asks, but V'amarav, how can you say that the halacha is that when you're saying that moededus is from malacha, and the equivalent is the husband that he can be married in the malacha? What malacha does he have to do? It's talking about when he says, I'm not going to give her food even though she's doing malacha for me. That's the husband being married. Says, how can you say that? The halacha married is that he keeps on adding on to her 3 dinar a week. But Rav said, someone says such a thing, that I'm not going to feed her, I'm not going to provide for her, you need to be eating ksuba. He's got to go out and give her the ksuba. The Mishnah says that he adds on to the ksuba 3 dinar a week, and he doesn't divorce her right away. But Rav says that, no, you have to divorce right away. So how can you say that's the halacha of moededus, which is moeded, which is malacha, which would mean ein zayin ve'ein mefarnes, because what type of malacha does he have to do for her? But that can't be, because Rav says you wouldn't add on to the ksuba, then you would have to divorce her right away. So the Gemara says it's not difficult. You know why? Because don't you have to still try to have him change his mind? And in that amount of time that we're trying to have him change his mind, then we keep on adding on to the ksuba. So they're really both true. Rav is true, yes, he has to divorce right away. But in the interim that we're trying to put, get this guy to talk to him, get this guy to talk to him, as we try to take a few weeks. In those weeks, we're going to be adding on 3 dinar a week. So it could be that moededus is from malacha. The Gemara says, however, Mesa. The Gemara asks from the following brisa. Brisa says, achasli, it's all the same and one to me in regards to the halacha of being a moirid, of rebelling, of arusa, a woman who's engaged, which she says, I'm not getting married. So she's rebelling. B'nesua, or let's say a married woman, or v'afilanida, or a menstruating woman, even a sick woman, even a shemenes yavam, who she doesn't want to get married to consummate this relationship. I don't care, whatever the case is, this is going to qualify with halacha of moededus. So, in the parentheses have the following question. We understand according to one that says that the merid is from malacha. Shabbat makes sense that all these types of personalities, I don't care if you're a nida, if you're married or you're engaged, you have obligations to the husband. I can understand why that's considered a merida. According to the one that says that the merida is from having intimacy. What, nida plus tashmashi? What are you talking about? How could you say that a nida is going to be moededus? A nida is forbidden to have tashmish. Amalach, so you tell you no. In a day when Mishiyish the pass basal, like we said in the previous daf, you can't compare someone who has bread in his basket when he's fasting with Misha Imli, someone who does not have. So even though she's a nida and she can't have tashmish now anyway, but if she's being moededus and she's like, you know what, me and you no more. So even though she can't right now, but she's removing that possibility for tashmish, that would be considered as a moededus. Those that say that the question is the other way. According to one that says some tashmish, I can understand one of the cases that you mentioned, which is that for the one that is a sick person, to say that Okay, even though she's not well, but she can still have tashmish, and therefore still considered as a meredis. As we tintam and base, but according to one that says that the merida is from doing work, what you think being sick is someone that could do work, which takes the proof from here that the work would be all the types of work that a woman does. No, actually, it would sound like that's the work. You think she could do work, so why would that be considered as a rebellious woman if she's sick? Which Taisa also does point out that according to what we said, that according to one that says from Tashmish, you think Nid is best Tashmish, he says, according to the one that holds that's Malacha, so then what's that feeling? That you say even from Nida? What do you mean? What do you mean even if a Nida? Regarding work, what does it have to do if she's a Nida or not? So he says, yeah, it's a Chiddush, because Stam Nida is a Chaylis Ksas. Nida, generally she's not so feeling so great. So that's the Chiddush to say that still it would be considered Merida from Malacha. Or she's not a bas malacha like other women because she can't pour the cup and she can't do everything because she's a nida. But that's what saying that al kapanim. The Gemara's question right now is saying, but if you're saying that the merida is from malacha, so how can you say that a chayla if she's sick, if she's not doing work, she's going to consider meredes? I can understand she's merida from tashmish. If she's sick, she can still have tashmish. She doesn't have to do anything. It's just karka oilami. But regarding malacha, what do you want her to do? She can't do work. Why is she meredis? So the Gemara says, rather the Gemara amends the teaching and says, the truth is mitashmish from intimacy, kul amalei pligi. No one disagrees. That meredis. That would make a woman a meredis, and therefore, when the Bryce is saying that a chayla is a meredis, it means meredis from tashmish. You're right, because it wouldn't be meredis from doing work. She's not feeling well. What do you want her to do? She can't do work. But keep pligi. The machlekes that we had was if it's also going to be mimalacha, is it also from doing work? Marasav and Malacha lahav meredis. One opinion holds that it's not considered merida from doing work. Or Marasav and Malacha and holds that also from doing work it's going to be considered merida. So again, everyone agrees if she refuses to have intimacy with her, she's a meredis. She's going to get a kanas every single week, 7 dinarim or tarpa'aikin. But the question was if she refused to do the cooking and the laundry and all that, if that's going to be considered as a meredis or not, that's a machlekes. Now Gufa, we said in the Brisa we mentioned before, meredis al-bala. If a woman rebels against her husband, he said, we diminish her from her ksubah shibit dinar b'Shabbos, 7 dinar a week. Yudami says, shibit tarpeikin, no, 7 tarpeikin. That was the opinion of the Tanakh. But Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg, our teachers, they subsequently went back and took another count, that they decided that we're not going to delay her to continue to small increments diminish her ksubah. Rather, after 4 weeks of announcements, we're going to totally wipe out her ksubah. They said that we're going to make the announcement for 4 weeks, 4 consecutive weeks. And the courts said her, Habidas, you should know. So even if the is 100 months, it would take a long time. 7 to diminish week after week. I don't care. Even though it's 100 months, if Sata, you're going to lose it. If it's after 4 weeks of announcements. And it doesn't make a difference if she's engaged, or when the two are married, I feel a nida or a nida. I feel even sick. After 4 weeks, it's gone. Now, Amalei, the Gemara asks the same question, that's why the parentheses has it. Amalei Ruchiyah by Yosef Shmuel says, Nida Batashmashi? According to the Mandama that we said, it must be Tumar Tashmash, because one of the cases was Chayla. Chayla is only a Meredis for Tashmash. So, that means to say, you're talking about Merida for Tashmash, Nida, how is a Nida a Meredis? She can't have Tashmash anyway. Says the Imam Ali said, like we answered before, you can't compare someone that's bread in his basket. The Mishalim Pasbasazim does not have bread in his basket. And therefore, in this case, although she's a Nida, but she's refusing, she's like, that's it, well, I'm switching rooms and this and that would already be considered as a Meredes, even though she's a Nida. Amar Rambacham, he qualifies, he says, this that we say that we make these announcements 4 weeks in a row, we only make it about the conditions about Midrashas and Shul and the Beis Medrash. That's we make it the 4 weeks in a row. Clap on the bima, say this woman refuses to do her duties for her husband. That's what we do in Shul. Now, Amar Rabbi says, Deganami, precise reading indicates this. What we learn in the Mishnah, it's Arba Shabbos Zuach Hazu. So it's 4 weeks, one after the other. Now, those are days when people are not working and everyone's in Shul in the Beis Medrash. Shmamina, obviously, that it's on Shabbos when people are not working, because that's when you make the announcement in Shul, that you want to have everyone hear that announcement. Now, Amram Bachame says, Pamayim Sholchim Bezdin. He says 2 times they sent it from Bezdin. Not 1 time. 2 times. Achas Kaimach, one before the announcements, Lachas Achar is the one after announcement. So we make the announcement 4 weeks in a row in Shul, Klap, and the Bima. So before we said one time, now he's saying no, once before the announcement, once after. It says, just want you to know, don't be stubborn, because you're going to lose your whole ksuba. And Darash Rav Nachman, because he says halacha is like this opinion of Rabbi Seinu, that we don't diminish week after week, a little bit after a little bit. You do 4 weeks of announcements, and voila, the whole ksuba is erased. Now, Amar Rabbi says, Hai Burcha. He says, that's an inappropriate statement. So Amalei Rav Nachman Yitzchak says, my Burcha said, why is that inappropriate? I am the one who told him this teaching that Allah is like Rabbi Seinu, that you only give her 4 weeks. And I said over to him in the name of a great person. Who's that? Now, according to our gears, so this is a whole different gears, but according to our gears, the way Rashi says that the Ihu and him, meaning who's him, Rava, that said that it is a burcha, that it is a mistake. Who does he hold like that? He says it's a mistake to say this halacha like Rabbi Seinu that you only give her 4 weeks. He holds like that. We learned that Rava, so it's Rava, that's what we're talking about. He says Amar Rav Sheshes, and then Rav Sheshes halacha is nimlachim. Actually, we do consult with her. In other words, we delay the get and we go after her. And every single week we keep on diminishing 7 dinar. We don't just give 4 announcements and boom, we wipe it out. We do it week after week. She says halacha is inam lachma. No, we don't consult with her. We don't give her, ask her, and plead with her and say we just give her an ultimatum. 4 weeks and done. Now says the Gemara, the Gemara says, okay, we understand. We already told you meredis is if she refuses intimacy, if she refuses to do work. But how does it qualify for a meredis that you force her and you'll delay the get and you keep on diminishing the ksuba? So Amma Meimer says, is the Amma where she says something very interesting. She says, Bi'inale. She says that I actually need him. I actually want him. But I am making pain for him. Meaning to say that she's saying, I really want to be married to him. But we're not getting along. So there we force her by diminishing her ksuba week after week. So maybe we'll get her to turn around and change her ways. But she says, he's disgusting to me. Not him, not his ksuba. I don't want him. I don't want it. So we actually then, we don't force him then. Meaning, we don't force her to delay her, rather we give her the get right away. She loses out of ksuba. You don't want it? You don't want anything to get out. Meaning, if you're saying, I really want him, but I make his life miserable, so I don't want to lose my ksuba. It's okay, we do it week after week. We slow torture. But it's just like, I don't want this anyway, so we're not going to gain anything anyway. What do we do? Why are we torturing him and her? Just end this marriage. Mazutrame says, Kafinala. He says that actually, even when she says Moisalai, that we do force her. And however, the Gemara brings a story to show this, that don't give up on the marriage, is Va'afa Marzutra, that they forced by Marzutra, the Nafik Minei Reb Chanina Mesura. The great Reb Chanina from Mesura came out of a marriage that they thought it was, the woman said, I hate him, he's disgusting to me, he's repulsive, and yet they forced it, and they made the marriage continue, and they had a great son. Says Imam that's not a proof. Because Hassan Siyat Lishmaya, there was heavenly assistance. But in general, if a woman says he's disgusting to me, which place disgusting, what the parameters of that is, that she's not getting a ksuba anyway, so she's not going to say it as an excuse to get out or whatever. It's really a terrible marriage. Why would we force it? And therefore, we do end it. We're not going to pull this out very slowly. Gemara brings a story related to this that Kalsid of Zvid Imarda, the daughter-in-law of Zvid, she rebelled, and she said, as Rashi points out, Moisalai, says he's disgusting to me, this son of Rav Zvid. I don't want anything to do with him. So at Tfisachat Shira, she was holding on to one cloak, one jacket that was given to her in the ksuba. So Yosef Amimar Mazud Ravashi, so these 3 Talmidei Chacham were sitting. Yosef of Gamli Gabayim, Gamli was sitting next to them. Now, Yosef Kambi, those 3 Talmidei Chacham were sitting and they were saying, Marda, she rebelling, if Sida Blois Sekayim, she loses out her intact blois. What that is that even her garments that she brought into him and was part of the Nedunya, if it's evaluated in the ksuba that the husband has to give that value after the marriage, if those blois, if those worn out garments are still around, she loses them. So even that she has that jacket, we're going to take it away from her because she's a modernist. So That's what those three Talmud Chacham were saying. Rav Gamda said to them, who he was the Shver, the father-in-law. Because of Zid Gavin is a great person, so you're flattering him, you're going and doing something deceptive to flatter the father-in-law and to do against the daughter-in-law. But Rav Kana said, Rav asked this as a question. He wasn't sure about Bloiseh Kayamin, what you do with it, with her jacket and her skirt or whatever that she still had. Lepash didn't resolve it. So how can you take it away from her if you don't know? Misafik did not wait seeing. That's one version of the story. Those that say that actually, Yosef Kamei actually said, no, they were saying, Marda, she's rebelling. As Amaredes, although she loses the ksuba, but she does not lose the clothing that she's actually still wearing that is still intact. That we don't take away from her. On that, according to that version of Gamda sent to them, as you continue to have the other way around. It's just Zvid Gavin Abu, because of Zid is a great personality, which, as Rashi translates, unlike the first version. He's not going to contest what we're saying because of his humility. So because of his humility, you're going to take advantage of it, and you're going to invert the judgment against him to his fault. Meaning you're saying that she gets to keep the Bloiseh Kayamin, and that's going to be at the expense of the father-in-law of Zvid, because he's a humble person, he's not going to contest what you're saying. But the Rav Kana said, Rav asked it as a question, and he didn't resolve it. So how do you know she gets to keep it? Which traces Ba'alit says, what do you mean? Since we didn't resolve it, that's halacha v'mitzvah. So since she's in possession of it, so we wouldn't take it away. What are you asking? Because of his humility, he's not going to say anything. What should he say? She's in possession of it. The halacha is mitzvah when you have a suffix. So Taisa says, he says, no, there were many garments that she had. She had a whole wardrobe. And that she was not in possession of at that time. According to the first version, because of Zid is a great person, you're flattering him, that you're not gonna that you're gonna take it away from her, are the ones that she's not in possession right now. According to the second version, it was saying that because of the jacket that she's not grabbing, that you're saying that you're gonna that you're gonna say that he's gonna keep it, meaning to say because you're not going to resolve it, you're going to say that according to the second version, you're saying she doesn't lose it out, but that's going against Rav Zvid because she's not in possession of it. So it depends. Tracy says that there was garments that she was in possession of, garments that she wasn't. So that's what you're saying on all of them, that's not a mitzvah mechal l'raya. The ones that she has, yes. The ones that she doesn't have, they have. But according to either version, the problem was with the other half. The ones that she's in possession, of course, you'll say mitzvah mechal. The one he's in possession, you'll say mitzvah mechal l'raya. But you were saying, according to the first version, that she doesn't get any of it, even the one she's holding on to. Why? She's in possession. According to the second version, that you're saying she does get to keep it, but why? The ones that Zvid's family is in possession, she shouldn't have to get. So the Gemara concludes, Hashda delay idma. Now that we didn't say loy hachi v'loy hachi, we didn't resolve it. You're right. We didn't say that she gets to keep the bloisei kayima or not. It's a suffix. So the halacha is tafsa if she grabs it, if she's in possession of it. Like no, we don't take it away from her. Loy tafsa, if she doesn't grab it, we don't give it to her. Moreover, machine law, we also delay her. Maybe she's going to retract for a period of Tracy after Shata Agita, for a period of 12 months for a get, and not more than that. Or Bahamas Tracy after Shata, this is how the Gemara is concluding, meaning according to all the opinions we had, is it 4 weeks, is it this, is it right away? This is how the Gemara is concluding, is that we give a period of 12 months, that we try to work these things out. Bahamas Tracy after Shata, and in those 12 months, less than Mazani Bash doesn't get Mazanis from the husband. Thank you for any time.